Hi, I'm Subhadra. I am a yoga teacher, wellness coach, producer, mother of four, and the owner of Yoga Angels International. This is Strip to the Naked Truth podcast. She said, "You should be a dancer." I didn't know the woman meant I should be a stripper. She said, "A dancer." Well, welcome to my new career. I took the card. I was elated. I told my friend about it outside. She said, "Let me see the card." She looked at the card and she said, "Well, yes, indeed, you are going to be a dancer. You're about to be a stripper." I said, "Really?" For me, it didn't even flinch me. All I know is I was about to find a way to take care of my daughter. That was the best decision I have ever made. I've made many great decisions, but that one right there, just like yoga, was the best decision to take me out of this thing where I was selling my time for money. There is not enough time in the world to sell your time for money and raise a child and be the person. Remember, my goal was to raise my children on my own because I did not have parents. I wanted to be in the house. And how was I going to do that when I'm in a bank all day and then two other jobs all evening? Who is raising the child? Needless to say, that very much I called up the woman and we had a percentage split that we would have. I think she get a 1/3 of it and I get the other portion of it. And let me tell you, I didn't have any training whatsoever, but she just told me what the job was about. And I say, "I can do that." She said, "I saw you dancing. You are great. You just have to now put that dancing and the men has to be teased and they will give you money. When is the next show?" You know, I danced, I stripped. My first show was at the Hilton Hotel. I'll never forget it. It was fantastic. You got to read the book to know more about the shows, by the way. But that, from hustling before to now becoming, my career just switched like that. I went and bought myself an old entire outfit of what I thought a stripper should wear. It was amazing. My mother thought she was going to fall out of her bed when I showed it to her. She said, "Where you going in that? Donna, where you going in that?" I said, "That is my new career." I said, "It's no longer a suit. This is what I'm going to wear." She said, "So what kind of job are you going to do, Donna?" I said, "I'm going to be a stripper, a dancer." She said, "Lord Jesus Christ, have mercy." My mother was always so dramatic, you know. She's like, "Oh dear, like Lord of Nazareth, like help me. Where does this little girl come from?" Well, I went out that night, and when I came back, I made money that I would have to work in the bank for an entire week to make the money I made that night. And I paid the woman her part, and I still went home with what I could make in a week. I don't have to tell you anymore. There was no negotiation if I was now a full-blown stripper. Yes, indeed, I was. And I was an entrepreneur. I made up my business card. I gave myself a nice name. I think them days I called myself Sandy G or Island Princess. I used those two names for a while. And my new stripping career was born. You want to read about it? Go into Forbes magazine. They actually did an article on me in Forbes about going from a stripper into spiritual life and becoming a CEO of this wellness, the wellness company. So you can find that article if you put in Subhadra Bowman in Forbes. It should come up, and stripper. Those might bring it up. Moving on. Now, after being a stripper, of course, and taking care of my child, my life was different. I was home with her. I take her to school. I pick her up from school. I would dance at night when she goes to bed, and then I would come back. It was really well thought of. I get someone to watch her a few, hours. It was really awesome. I was mapping out, and I was also going to school in the day. Sometimes when she went to school, I went to college for production and television production, and so I started to really move my life in the directions I wanted it to go. So there were many different chapters in how I moved through that. I danced from age 21 to age 25, and that's when I met yoga. I was always into fitness, like I said. I was a bodybuilder trainer. I was training people. I also was doing that at one point while I'm dancing. I got into doing fitness training, teaching aerobic classes. I was a hustler, okay? The girl was going to work and get her money. She was going to have money to buy her child fancy shoes. This is all I spent my money on. My daughter. She had the best clothes. She had the this. Now I look back, what a waste. The kid grows so fast, but new mother, and what I thought I didn't have, that's what I wanted to give my child. Needless to say, I continued my journey in the banking, into the stripping. The banking was no longer a part of my life. Now, from 21 to 25, as I'm dancing, I'm learning some serious business about the game of dancing. That you definitely have to read the book for, because I don't know I could talk about any of that on YouTube, okay? Flag, 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 flag. I was meeting powerful men from every kind of genre you could name. Music business, politics, football, basketball. If you want to know where the men congregate, it's called the strip clubs. Okay. Anyway, I had a great time. I learned psychology there. I had to learn a whole lot through the game of dancing. Now, moving from dancing and meeting yoga, that was such a flip in my life that I'm 25 and I'm full blown into production school at this point, right? So I'm going to school, I'm dancing, and I'm literally taking care of my child. I would say I'm happiest I have ever been at that point. I feel like my life was coming together. And then I'm at the gym, making sure my body stay proper. And the gym, one morning, I met a man at the strip club and he will come into play too. But I felt like I felt backwards with this man. So it had triggered me into a place where I wanted to shift something in my life. So the gym was my refuge. I ran to the gym that morning. Literally, I would still be wearing these little, Calvin Klein boxer shorts and these little top. And I was ripped. There was no fat on the body. I mean, 6%. I'm just like moving through the middle of Hollywood as if this was normal. In my world it was. And I jogged into the gym. It was very different. Remember the gym I jumped up on the counter eventually? Well, yeah, that was the gym. And I went in, it was newly, they were using the slide card now, the card machine. And they just changed the system. And I slide the card and I was going to go up and I forgot the card because I'm not used to having it. I left it on the counter. And as I remember it at the top of the first stairs, I turned back, and as I moved back to go to the desk, some guy had seen me and started following me, and he's moving towards me and me moving back. At such momentum, our forehead hit together. We literally bumped into each other, forehead to forehead, and that was the beginning of my yoga. You'll hear me speak about a man who is still a yoga teacher. His name is Pagan, George Pagan, and he goes by the name Pagan, and he's a fabulous yoga teacher in Hollywood now. He still is. He's a guru, and he was my first yoga teacher. That's the man I hit forward with as he was teaching yoga at the Hollywood gym at the time. He sees me, and I guess, like fate would have it, the body rocked. And it could have been the body that called him, but he ran behind me and we bumped our heads. He is a very beautiful soul. If anyone knows who I'm talking about, I need not say anything else about Pagan. On my way now to the sauna to take my sauna steam. In other words, my life was together. I had a routine that I kept, right? And as I was walking towards the sauna, Pagan was on his mat, stretching upstairs, and he was in a split, what we know as Hanumasana in yoga now. And my God, the stripper in me said, I want to do that. Because I would use to try to stretch on stage and do something emanating the split, but I was too tight in my hips. I could not achieve it, but I knew that's what I needed. And there was a girl at one of the clubs I danced in, and she was very, very limber. And she would put her foot behind her head, and she had a whole routine about that. And when the dollars would come on the stage for her set, when she would do them foot leg move, I wanted to learn how to do that. And here was this man that I just, remember I cussed him out downstairs, but he's upstairs, and he has the answer. And you remember the courage I told you I always have. I waddled myself right over to him as if I didn't cuss him out. And I said, hello. And he says, looked up, he's in the split, he says, hi. And I said, I want to learn to do that. And he said, you do? I said, yeah. And he says, and we started chatting it up. And long story short, I got his number. I said, maybe you could be my private teacher, me, hotty totty. And he said, maybe. But I did notice something very different about him because I still could see that his spirit was elevated. I noticed his necklace around his neck was, and around his arm, and he had his slippers to the side. He just was very different. He emanated what I emanate now sometimes in my outfits, a yogi vibe. But I didn't know what it was, but I picked up on it that he was a spirit, is how I describe it. So I went home and I called my friend Georgie, the same one I said what I should do. She was visiting New York at the time. And I said, girl, I met a guy today and something about him. And I'm talking about him. And she said, really? And she said, well, you sure excited? And I said, yes, there's something about him. And she said, what's making him so different? I said, he don't feel like a man. He feel like a spirit. Man, that was a great call on Subadra's part. I wasn't wearing the name Subadra yet, Sandy. And she said, wow, I really want to meet him. I said, yeah, he had on that necklace. That was just like, there was just something. And she said, you're going to call him? I said, should I? She said, well, it sounds like you're excited. You should call him. I said, but, let him call me. And she's like, call the man. And I got off the phone, and like the grace would have it, I called him. He had given me his number on a green piece of paper. I kept that paper for 7 or more years. And a circle was around his name, Pagan, and then a circle on the end and a circle on the other. And then he did a slash under his name. I'll never forget that. And that little paper, when I dialed that number and let my ego go that day, I had just started a new chapter in my life. He spoke to me. He was painting when I called him, and he was, let's say I met him at the gym. I might have left there if it was 2. He was at my house, I swear, by about maybe another hour or 2 after. And that was the change. He gave me a yoga pose. He cleaned out my entire, he told me about food. I asked him to check my kitchen and let me know what should I eat and not eat. And when he take out what I shouldn't eat, when I went back to my cupboard, there was nothing in it. So I said, the seasoning were gone. And I said, there's nothing I had here that I should be eating. He said, nothing. I said, so what should I be eating? He says, vegetables. I was so ignorant when it comes to eating. So have faith, people. I was a McDonald's eating, Burger King, all of them something there. Chicken, pork, you name it. If it had legs, I ate it, right? That's how I was trained in Jamaica. I'm 25 years old, and this man has cleared my refrigerator. I had to go pick up my daughter from school. It would be now about 4:30 or so in California. And I locked the man in my house. He's so intoxicating to me and full of knowledge that I did not have, that I was not going to let him leave. I said, hold on, there's someone I want you to meet. I knew instantly that this person had came to change my life. All those crying in the shower, bawling, digging my belly, my 8-packs. That's how ripped I was. Crying for God, asking God, please help me, help me. I need something. I need something in my life. I want something spiritual. It had came with this guy, and I was going to keep him. And so I locked the door. I told him I was going to pick up my daughter and pick up some of that vegetable he's talked about, and I will be bringing a bottle of wine. What kind of wine? And da-da-da-da-da. And I went off to the supermarket. I came back, people, with 1 cabbage, some carrots, and some stalks of broccoli. And I came back with a bottle of wine that somebody told me what it was because I didn't drink. And basically, I brought it back, and I remember he bust out one laugh when he saw what I brought back, like, this is what you think vegetarian eats like? What am I to chuck this? Anyway, he dolled up the biggest meal out of that vegetables I remember very well, and I knew he was a keeper because of that. Pagan at this age and days is one of the most amazing yoga gurus. He changed my life, and I thank you right now, Pagan. I'll take a moment to bow my divine state to your divine state. When we bumped our heads together, what I did not understand is that I went through an awakening. Our third eye people, remember that boom? When we ask for things, we get them in the most auspicious way. The man shaktipada me right then and there without even his permission. He didn't even know what was happening. He was used. And from that day until this day, I am now and have been a yogi. From my first Uttanasana, a forward bend that he gave me that day, he became the father of my first son. 9 years later, I had his first child. We were an amazing couple in the community. He now has a most beautiful wife. That if you could probably look at her and I, there's definitely some similarities there. They've been married for 15 years. And Subhadra, me, this woman, I'm always spreading my wings and moving on. Don't worry, settle down. I'll get my husband one day, the one that I will stay with till my outro, you know? But that was ages and stages. Pagan and I raised our children. I'll tell you more about that story. But we had an enormous impact on the community, bringing yoga into more different diasporas, schools. We did an eloquent job at bringing our union together. We vowed together that we were going to stop being victims. I remember this. We sat together. This is maybe a half a year into getting to know each other, and we were going to become people that was going to be leaders in our community, and that's exactly what we became. And we worked our butt off. We had studios together and so on, so on. Check him out. His name is Pagan. He has, he's on IG, does a lot of Indian, trip to India like my, you know, like how I do Africa retreats. He tends to do India retreats. He's out there and he's a phenomenal teacher as well. So that's how my yoga journey began. I was fortunate enough that he was in the beginning of his yoga studies as well. When we became a couple, we could not afford to pay for both of us being in the Iyengar yoga system. So we paid his school fee while I had that tenacity to learn in a certain way anyway, in an independent study. So they allowed me to come and study independently. That's odd. That's very rare you get that kind of opportunity in the Iyengar system. If you know anything about the Iyengar system, it's one of the top-notch yoga system out there for therapeutic yoga. If you don't know about Iyengar yoga, please look it up. It is the first set of yoga I studied for 9 years without looking at another form of yoga. Blew my mind, my body, all that internal strength I was seeking. I had the outer shell, and let me tell you, Iyengar yoga filled me up. I became a woman by 27. I had my own nonprofit. I'm in schools. I'm talking not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5. I was tenacious. I was moving through Hollywood like it was like I was on steroids. Is that what they call them? Steroids? I was just like, I was hamped up. I still am like that, actually. As much as I get quiet and still, which when you see that it's like intense, it's as intense as I get when I get movie. I was turned on. I had 50 kids. They were in, we were taking tours, okay? Performing with drums, didgeridoo. We were, this yoga thing, remember when I found yoga, I was already in school for production and television, right? Something that I still do a bit of here. Look at, what am I doing right now? People, you don't have to let go of none of your dreams. The world is secular, you see. Time and place for all things. So though I was in school back at 25 for production and television, my life took me to become a yogi by 25. By 27, I'm a full-blown yoga teacher and fitness trainer. Move on from fitness training. Now I have a non-profit. That's how I started, with a non-profit, not knowing that I need a for-profit to be able to give. But remember what I told you? I was a giver. My grandmother said to me, you're going to give away your bottom and shit through you. Yeah, no. I can't say, can I say that on YouTube? We can say it maybe, and if it can't come out, that means, but basically what she was telling me in parables, that I would give away my buttocks, my anus, and I would have to pull through my ribs. And that would mean stop giving so much and receive so little. She wanted me to fill upon my own self. Well, these things don't fix themselves overnight. So my giving behavior was still there when I started a business. So my mind thought I need to start a nonprofit, which I did. YKO, Your Kids Organization. I wanted the world to know that all the kids was all ours. We were one. I'm 27 years old, and that was my message. Well, I had to grow from there too. Eventually, once we were performing and the kids were going, I asked him, "What do you want to call yourself?" My daughter, by the way, was the leader of that pack. She was, listen, so much she went through in school being teased about her locks. She was now Miss Popular. She was the head of the Yoga Angels, which they named themselves to be once we started performing. That girl, if you, by the way, check out her yoga. She is RA.WW. We'll put all of this at the links for you to check out these people, okay? Radha was teaching yoga and practicing now by 5, and she was amazing at it. So she would be the one when we're doing acro yoga. We were doing acro yoga. This is way back then. Radha is 5. She's at that point 1995, 97. She's at the pinnacle, balancing with someone holding her, and she putting her foot on her head in the middle of a stadium. We're like performing in stadiums. I mean, it was exciting. We performed for Yoga Journal. If you know anything about Yoga Journal, we were at Yoga Journal with African drummers. We come out on stage and the kids are backflipping and cartwheeling. Oh, such utter excitement. They're standing on their heads. They are teaching yoga in 2002. We documenting them teaching yoga. The yoga took me by storm. I had found my calling. I knew why I was on earth, and I wasn't going to let it go. And so you see me here. It has stripped me right down to my naked truth. I have learned so much through this beautiful philosophy, art. It's everything. It is everything, all entwined in one. And it has stripped my life down. And now I sit here in front of you as the CEO of 3 different companies, 1 entertainment, 1 nonprofit. Went back and opened a nonprofit called Yoga Angels Foundation. Years later, I rerouted and have the for-profit Yoga Angels International, which is what we're talking about. I'm sitting on that platform talking with you today. And we have Yoga Angels Foundation, and we have Conscious Superstars Entertainment, where we fuel wellness into the entertainment field. So I never gave anything up, did I? I ended up merging them all, and this, who I am today, is the product of stripping my life down from all the hardship, all that difficulty. And you've only heard a peak. You can blossom. The lotus flower, I say this and I'll wrap up. The lotus flower, the most beautiful flower, is buried under mud, gawk. And like a diamond that's hard and crusty, one has to go through these tribulations to build your character. And once your character is built, you can then put these principles in your life and practice. And I say it every time, practice, 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 practice. Because the more you practice, you will find your life will transform. I am going into full gear to transform into a whole other level of my existence and business. You will be able to watch me do it. And the only way I'm going to go to my next evolution is through practice, diligent practice. Remembering what is it that you stand for. If you stand for nothing, I promise you, you'll stand for everything. So choose some principles. Hardship is not meant to break you. Hardship is made to create you. It gives you that opportunity to say, who am I? Now that I've gone through that, What do I want to become? How do I do it? When do I apply? So on, so on. And the how, the when, the who, the what, all of it comes together. And I am now the product of all of that. A yogi, a teacher, a producer, a spiritual teacher, a community leader. You don't have to choose one thing. You're all things that you put your attention on. What are you putting your attention on? I will continue to strip to my naked truth. And I invite you to strip to yours. And together we'll be sparkly diamonds, recognizing we're powerful, we're loving, and we're kind. Those are some principles to have. Those are some of mine. I bless you and thank you for joining me. Namaste. I want to just say something about why yoga. Why yoga? Yoga is something that you can grow old with, okay? And still don't grow old. Peep that, people. I'm going to say that again. Yoga you can go into your golden years with and don't feel old. We don't have to die old. We can feel young, and you have access to your body system. Yoga regulates your body system so you can find your equilibrium and your body can work the most effective and efficient way as the machinery it is. Yoga feeds the soul, the spirit. You become what you were truly meant to be, what you already are. Yoga is the grand reminder of who you are. Yoga gives you the opportunity to learn about the very essence of life, your breath. So if you can take time and learn yoga, that's why yoga. Yoga is the actual essence of who you are, reminding you of who you are. It gives you the access to the observer. Remember, who is this observer? Who is observing the breath? Yoga brings you into that form of transformation to clear off the gunk. Yoga is the true stripper. It is the true stripper. See if you can read something in that. It strips you down, take away the pain. It removes the blockages. It frees your knees. You know how long I've been sitting here with my legs like this? Yoga did that. When I started in yoga, I couldn't cross my leg, people. My knees were up to my ears. That's the wreck of pain I'm telling you I was carrying around. And remember, I stripped it out, which means my legs got free, which means the anger release, and it keeps on evolving. Yoga evolves your life to where you truly desire to go. That's why yoga. I can go on and on and on and on, but we'll stop it there. Yoga is a way of life. It shows you to the path of many, many other modalities. It's the glue, the yoke. That's what it means, to yoke. Union, balance, mind, body, spirit. I'm truly out. Peace.